6. Magic and sorcery in proportion as an art or science is lost or forgotten, the very name by which it was called becomes misunderstood, misapplied, and finally forgotten. In proportion as men become unspiritual and material, they will grow incapable of comprehending the power of spirit. There are many persons even today who deny the existence of spirit, or of anything that transcends the power of perception of their physical senses. One example of the degradation of terms is the meaning which is at present commonly attributed to the word magic. The true significance of that term is the application of spiritual knowledge, or wisdom, in contradistinction to that science which sees only the material aspect of nature. But the vulgar have come to believe magic to mean only sleight of hand performances, or perhaps conjuring or dealings with the devil, or with the spirits of the dead. True magic is the greatest of all natural sciences, because it includes a true knowledge of visible and invisible nature. It is not only a science, but also an art, because it cannot be learned out of books, but must be acquired by practical experience. To acquire that spiritual experience is to become spiritual. It is to perceive and know the true nature single quotity of the visible and invisible elements that compose the macrocosm and the microcosm, and to possess the art to direct and employ the invisible powers of nature. One divine knowledge and divine powers magic is the knowledge of how to employ spiritual powers, but it is self-evident that nobody can employ any spiritual powers unless he has come into their possession by the awakening of his own spirituality, nor can anyone become spiritual by merely imagining himself to be so. Magic and Sorcery 129 not belong to the personal self. Therefore he who desires to know and to use the powers of magic must rise above the delusion of self and become impersonal in the spirit. He must learn to distinguish between that which is divine and eternal and that which is animal and selfish in him. But there is also another art called black magic or sorcery, which consists not in acting in and through the power of God, which commands the elemental forces of nature, but by propitiating the evil elementals, and in asking favors of them, becoming their slave. Paracelsus says, magic and sorcery are two entirely different things, and there is as much difference between them as there is between light and darkness, and between white and black. Magic is the greatest wisdom and the knowledge of supernatural powers. One knowledge of spiritual things cannot be obtained by merely reasoning logically from external appearances existing on the physical plane, but it will be acquired by obtaining more spirituality and making oneself capable to feel and to see the things of the spirit. It would be well if our clergymen, who are called spiritual guides, would know more of spiritual things than what they have read in their books, and if they had some practical experience in divine wisdom, instead of merely repeating the opinions of the other people believed to have been divine/one. Therefore not surprising that in an age in which the very meaning of the term spiritual became incomprehensible to the learned, the meaning of magic has become also a mystery. 1. The word supernatural, as employed by Paracelsus, does not imply anything beyond nature as a whole, because nothing exists beyond the all, but it means that which transcends nature in her lower aspect, or a higher or spiritual aspect of nature than the merely mechanical and physiological part of her work. If, for instance, we follow our instincts, we act naturally, that is to say, according to the demands of our animal nature. But if resist natural impulses by the power of will and reason, we employ powers belonging to a higher order of nature. If we avoid to do evil on account of the evil consequences which it would cause to ourselves, we act naturally. But if avoid it on account of an inherent love of principle, we act in the wisdom of God. I3O Paracelsus, the wisdom which men ought to have does not come from the earth, nor from the astral spirit, but from the fifth essence, the spirit of wisdom. Therefore man is superior to the stars and the constellation, provided he lives in the power of that superior wisdom. Such a person, being the master over heaven and earth, by means of his free will, one is called Magus, and therefore magic is not sorcery, but supreme wisdom, deepest. Christ and the prophets and the apostles had magical powers, acquired less by their learning than by their holiness. They were able to heal the sick by the laying on of their hands, and to perform many other wonderful but natural things. Our clergymen talk a great deal about such things, but where is the priest of today who can do like him? It has been said by Christ that his true followers would do the same things and still greater ones, but it would be difficult to find at present one Christian minister who can do anything as Christ did. But if anyone who is not a man-made minister comes and cures the sick by the power of Christ acting through him, they call him a sorcerer and a child of the devil, and are willing to burn him upon a stake.
To Christ, Jesus Christ, the Anointed, is this person when he's connected to his soul. So Jesus Christ, or the Christ, is the soul when it's in its highest form, has the 7 compartments to it, and expresses itself not in the animal state or in its own preconceived notion, but expresses itself as love, as the book taught y'all about that guy, Jesus Christ. But he wasn't an actual person. But there is a lot of people out here that does the science and did actually bring people back to life and was doing miracles. They was called the Magi. We'll get into them another time. One love.